Hello there, algebra students. We're going to take a look today at how to turn in an assignment here on Google Classroom. The assignments that I'm going to be putting out, some of them will be in Google Slides, something different that we haven't ever done before. So just wanted to kind of demonstrate that, plus also to give you a couple of examples to review material that we have done right before we were off here on this break. So anyway, that being said, you can see the assignment here. It's got the clipboard. That means that's something I've got to turn in here on Google. The post here that just has the profile picture just tells me it's informational. It's going to have some work typically involved with it, but nothing that I'm going to turn in on Google Classroom. So we're going to go ahead and click on the classwork tab here. And here's the, to get to the on live chat sessions, there's that. But here's where my assignments are. And I'm going to click on this 2B systems bell ringer example. All right, so here we go. With this, I'm going to go ahead and open it up and view it. I'm going to go ahead right away here, get started on it. Click on the link to get to the Google slide. And the first thing I'm going to want to do, which is what you're probably going to have to do each time, is go ahead and zoom in. So if this isn't showing, I click on that drop arrow. I can go to my view menu, go down to zoom, and I'm going to zoom in at 100%. Now, I've got these problems, not used to necessarily doing work on the computer here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a separate sheet of paper. I'm going to suggest you do the same thing, and my piece of paper is going to be electronic, so I'm going to click on here, and here's the problems. It says to solve the following system of equations using any method. Well, the options that I have right now are graphing. We've talked about that's typically not the option we want to use. I only use that when the directions are going to tell me to. I've got substitution, elimination to solve algebraically. Well, with this system, I've got the two equations in standard form. When they're in standard form, we want to eliminate. Well, in order to eliminate, you need the same number or same coefficient in front of one of the variables. With the x's, I have a 3 and a 4. Well, that's obviously not the same number. And the same thing with the y's, not the same number or coefficient in front there. So what we have to do is go ahead and multiply through. And in this case, the y's are smaller. I'm just going to choose to eliminate the y's. I'm going to multiply by doing the old flipperooski. And I'm going to flip this 3 and this 2 and put the 2 up top here, which means I'm going to multiply that top equation through by 2. And I'm going to take this 3 and move it to the bottom, and I'm going to multiply this bottom equation through by 3. And as a matter of fact, instead of just multiplying by 3, if I multiply by a negative 3, that would give me a negative 6, and 2 times 3 would give me a positive 6. So multiplying by the negative would also take care of giving me different signs. So let's go ahead and do this. I multiply through. 2 times 3x is going to be 6x. Continuing, 2 times 3y is plus 6y. So every term has to get multiplied by this number here that I'm multiplying by. So 12 times 2, this is equal to 24. In my other equation, I'm multiplying by negative 3. So a negative times a positive 4x gives me a negative 12x. Continuing on here, negative 3 times 2y is minus 6y. This is looking really good because now my y's are set up to eliminate with the positive and the negative. And then I've got negative 3 times negative 24, and that gives me my answer here of 72. All right, well, we're talking about eliminating, and we've got the y set up to eliminate, so I'm going to add these equations together. And as I take the 6 plus the negative 12, or 6 and a negative 12, that gives me a negative 6x. Continuing here, the y's, well, they eliminate, which is why this method is called elimination. They eliminate away, that variable is gone, and so now I just have the one variable to solve for, x, and it's equal to, and as I add those together, I get 96. Well, to solve here, to get x by itself, we're going to divide each side by negative 6. and the x value in this case ends up equaling a negative 16. Well, we take that value of negative 16, we are going to then take it and plug it into one of the original equations. I'm just going to use this bottom one here since it's convenient, and we're going to go 4 times x, or well, we know it's now negative 16, so I'm going to put negative 16 in here, plus 2y comes down, and it is equal to a negative 24. I'll simplify here. 4 times negative 16 is a negative 48. Ooh, actually a negative 64. Only multiplied by 3 there. So negative 64 plus 2y is equal to a negative 24. To solve this, I'm going to add the 64 to both sides. And as I add that 64 to both sides, I've got the 2y left here on the left side. Negative 24 and positive 64 makes this equal to 40. We divide by 2 on each side, divide by 2, and the y value ends up equaling 20. All right, so the final answer on that one is the ordered pair of x is negative 16 and the y value is 20. Always want to write your answers in the form of an ordered pair. All right, taking a look here at the next problem. I've taken the time to get this kind of prepared a little bit ahead. I look at this and say, hey, I've got a variable by itself. That's the instance where we want to do some substitution. So the variable by itself is y. I'm going to underline that because in my other equation where there's a y, we're going to replace this, and we're replacing it with what it's equal to here, which is this negative 2x plus 6. So I look at my other equation and, oh, here, there's a y. So I'm going to underline that. That is going to get replaced with this negative 2x plus 6. So to start that process, I've already done that here. We go ahead and plug in. The negative 2x came down. The negative 3 came down. The y, oh, we replaced it and put this negative 2x plus 6 in place, and the equals negative 6 came down. I continue solving here. I distribute in my negative 3. So as I distribute this in, I'm going to multiply, and we get those values in my next step here, where I've got the negative 2x coming down, plus 6x, negative times positive is a negative 18, and then equals negative 6 would just come down. These guys here are like terms, so I'm going to take those like terms and combine them. And when I combine the negative 2x and the positive 6x, I get 4x. I bring everything else down. Continuing to solve, I'm going to add 18 to both sides. And as I add 18 to both sides, well, the 4x is left on the left side. The 18 adds to the negative 6 to get 12. And then I finish up here, and I divide that, and I go ahead and get my answer of 3. Now that I have that answer of 3, I'm going to take it and plug it back into one of the original equations up here. And the easiest one to plug into, since I'm solving to get y now, is this top one. So we're going to go ahead and plug into this guy, and I plug in here for the x. So it's going to be negative 2 times 3 plus 6. So let's go ahead and take a look at what happens when I plug that in. I get the negative 2 times 3. When I multiply the negative 2 times 3, I get negative 6. And then as I get the negative 6 plus 6, I get the y value of 0. So my final answer for this is an ordered pair again, and it is the point where x is 3 and the y value is 0. For right now, I'm going to pause on the work here on the scratch paper. This would be your paper you're working on, and we're going to talk about how to transfer this then into Google Slides so you can turn this thing in. And remember, guys, there's only a couple of examples here, so it is a bit of work to do, but it is important for me to see the process and what you're doing to solve these, so I can kind of troubleshoot mistakes that you're making. So we'll go back here to Google Classroom and start working on getting that stuff transferred in. And where did all my work go there? Oh, I did. I moved to a different page. So here we go. We'll try that again. There we go. All right, so this first problem here is I'm in Google Classroom. The first thing that we did is we multiplied here this top equation times 2. Maybe even put it in parentheses. Maybe not. Just put 2 there. I'm going to multiply through in this equation by a -3. And I didn't give you a big enough box, so I can resize that a little bit so you can actually see that. And then I go ahead here and plug in the work into this box, and we're not going to plug absolutely everything in. So I'm going to type in when I multiplied here, these equations right here that I got. So the 6x plus 6y here we go, we're going to get this yet. 6y, and that is equal to 24. And then I hit enter. I multiplied through that next equation times -3, and I'm going to have -12x minus 6y, and that is equal to the 72 there. Then we went ahead and combined those together. Maybe you could go ahead and highlight this. This isn't necessarily the most important thing, but I could highlight that, go up here to an underline tool and choose to underline that so I can see that line there. Going back here to continue typing in, I'm going to type in the -6x, and that's equal to 96. Enter. Dividing by the -6. I'm not going to show every gritty detail here, so I'm dividing the -6. I'm not going to show that. I'm just going to go down to my answer here, where x is equal to the -16. All right, well, the next step was we were trying to solve for y. So once again over here, like I said over here before, I didn't actually show this step right here. I'm not going to show the step where I plugged in. I can just say, oh, 4 times -16 and put the -64 here. So go ahead and do that over here in my Google slide. Oop, typing on the wrong side. So here we go. We got -64 plus 2y. And this is equal to a -24. Enter. We added the 64 to both sides, so we ended up with 2y, and that is equal to 40. And once again over here on my Google slide, I don't necessarily need to write the divide 2, so I'm just going to leave that alone and bring down the equals over here. So here we go, enter equals, so y is equal to 20 in the end. And then my final answer I should write as an ordered pair, so parenthesis, -16, comma, and 20. All right, so as far as that one goes, we're good. Let's go ahead and take a look at the one where we did the substitution. There's nothing to multiply there, so I don't need to worry about that. And over here, I'm going to go ahead and start with this orange and a little bit here to type in. So we got the -2, -2x minus 3 parenthesis -2x plus 6, close the parenthesis, and then it's equal to -6. As I'm going through here, I bring the -2x down. We were distributing there, so we get the plus 6x, and then minus 18, and that's equal to negative 6. All right, we're combining our like terms, the 2, negative 2, positive 6, it gives me the plus 4x, so there we go, we got 4x, and the minus 18 would come down, equals the negative 6. I subtract 18 on both sides. I'm not going to necessarily show the minus 18 on both sides. I'm just going to bring this down as 4x. And when I add the 18, that ended up equaling 12. And I'm getting all this work from the side scratch work that I did there on paper. And when I divide by the 3, my x value here ends up equaling 3. And then the next little bit of work here, I'm going to leave a little space and green up there. I'm not going to show the substitution step here where I plug the 3 in. I'm just going to write here where I multiplied, and I'm going to have y is equal to negative 6 plus 6, and then in the end y ends up equaling 0. Final ordered pair in parentheses 3 comma 0, and there we go. So there's the work for that. Now at this point, let's take a look at the final problem here as I scroll down. It's a graphing problem. This once again going to be a little bit different for us. I'm going to try and graph this on this Google slide. Well, to graph this first one, the y-intercept is at 1. So with the y-intercept being at 1, I'm going to take my line, click on it here, and I'm going to grab the very end point where I get this plus sign. And I'm going to drag that over to my y-intercept and put that plus right smack on the plus 1 and drop it. Then I rise negative 3 and run 2. And so we're going to go ahead and rise at negative 3, which means I go down 1, 2, 3 over 2. I'm going to do that a few times. 1, 2, 3 over 2. And that's going to give me an idea what my line looks like. And I'm going to go this way. I know it goes through at 1. So if I just grab my line now and make sure it stays right on there at 1, this line ought to be pretty good. All right, continuing on the next one, remember when we have standard form, we're going to cover and divide. Maybe it would be good to look here on my scratch work with this real quick. And as I cover and divide, remember we cover up the x. When you cover up the x, my y value or my y-intercept is 6. And then when I cover up and divide here with the y, and I cover the y up and that's gone, I've got the equation of negative x is equal to 6. We would divide by the negative 1, and my x-intercept is equal to negative 6. So remember, here we go. The x-intercept was negative 6. The y-intercept was positive 6. So on this line here, we're going to do exactly that with the green line. The y-intercept, grab the end point of that line and go up here. The reds count by 2, so 2, 4, 6 up on the red. And I drop this guy right there. And then I'm going to go to the x-intercept, which was at negative 6. So 2, 4, negative 6 would be right about there. And we drop that guy right there. And as I look at this, my graph tells me my answer where those two lines intersect. They are intersecting here at negative 2 and positive 4. So I go ahead and plug that answer in here. Negative 2, comma 4, and we are done. So the problem or the work is all done at this point. This is a live document, so at any point you're working on this. Actually, I can see this as you work on it if I were to open it up. And to let me know that you are done, what you can do then is you can go ahead and click here to turn this in. If you want to make sure that you have the right thing there, you can click on this and check it out, open it, see what it is. Oh yeah, that's the work I just got done doing. That looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and submit this by hitting turn in one more time. Don't forget, you got to hit turn in once and then twice. And now this is turned in, and I will be able to check this and give you a grade. So hope everybody's doing well. I realize this is a little bit of a lengthy video, but a little explanation to help you get started here I think is going to be a good thing. And you've got one assignment here. You've got 3 problems just like we did in the video that you will be doing then on your own to turn in for the grade. So a very short first assignment here for you. And hope everybody has a great day, and we'll talk to you